When the captain of the ship mockingly threw the Holy Quran into the sea, what miracle occurred at that very moment? An arrogant captain who sailed across the ocean yet dared to challenge the creator of that very ocean. He banned prayer, banned the recitation of the Quran on his ship, as if he controlled destiny itself. But the ocean was not his. The ocean belongs to Allah. Suddenly, darkness spread across the sky. The winds and heavens raged with fury. Then descended the wrath of Allah. Every passenger on the ship witnessed a miraculous scene. No one could understand whether what they were seeing was real or just an illusion of their eyes. And then, as suddenly as it began, everything fell silent. But before we begin, if you believe in the power of Allah, write in the comments, "I believe in Allah's power." Assalamu alaikum, dear respected viewers. Across the silver-blue waters of the Pacific Ocean sped a colossal cruise ship, Saffron Glory. It was a symbol of luxury, power, and limitless freedom. Inside it was a world of its own. Hot water pools on the top deck, elite passengers walking in designer outfits, and music echoing day and night. There was no luxury absent from this ship. Casinos, spas, ballrooms, everything. But one thing had been intentionally removed from its design: any place dedicated to the worship of Allah. There wasn't a single inch on this ship reserved for prayer. The mastermind behind this rule was the most powerful man aboard, Captain Frederick Nolan. Captain Nolan was intensely arrogant. He believed only in human power, technology, and science. He dismissed religion as medieval nonsense and a crutch for weak minds, and he particularly despised Islam. He claimed that any faith believing in jinn and paradise was outdated in the modern age. Nolan considered himself the god of the sea. One day in a ship meeting, Nolan said sharply, "I heard someone complained about wanting a prayer room on my ship." A manager nervously nodded. "Yes, Captain." An Indonesian cleaner named Ridwan requested permission to use a small empty space. Nolan burst into a mocking laugh. "Prayer? There's no room for ancient rituals on this ship. Tell him to prostrate in the engine room. At least the floor will get cleaned." Everyone laughed out of fear. But what Nolan didn't know was that not everything can be controlled. A person's heart and destiny, those were beyond his power. Far from the luxurious deck, Ridwan, the young cleaner, was wiping the corridor floor. His shirt was soaked in sweat, yet his face was calm. In his pocket, he kept a small green Quran gifted by his mother. That little Quran helped him hold on to his faith in this godless environment. Ridwan never disobeyed orders, yet he never abandoned his faith. Late at night, when the noise of the ship faded, he would hide in a corner of the engine room or behind the storeroom to pray. He would spread a torn cloth as his prayer mat and whisper, "Ya Allah, protect my faith even in this darkness." One day, while Ridwan was cleaning the lobby floor, Captain Nolan watched him from a distance. Ridwan had a habit of reading his Quran during short breaks. Nolan walked straight up to him. "I hear you read that holy book during work." Nolan's voice dripped with sarcasm. Ridwan replied calmly, "Captain, I only read it during my breaks. It gives me peace." "Peace?" the captain scoffed. "Science and technology keep this ship afloat, not your 1,000-year-old book. Beliefs like that hold the world back." Ridwan lowered his head, but his voice was firm. "Captain, don't speak about what you don't understand. This book is no ordinary book. It is light." Nolan's pride flared. He snatched the Quran from Ridwan's hand and slammed it onto the floor. "Look at your book. It can fall. It can be damaged. Just as weak as your faith." Ridwan froze in shock. His heart felt as if it had stopped. Slowly, he bent down and picked up the Quran. Holding it to his chest, he said with trembling yet unwavering voice, "Sir, you may insult me, hit me, even fire me, but do not disrespect my Quran. I am willing to lose everything, except this." Nolan had not expected such resistance. He realized this simple cleaner was stronger than him. Humiliated, he turned away and left. From that day on, the pressure on Ridwan intensified. Other crew members began avoiding him, but Ridwan did not give up. He now kept his Quran hidden inside his shirt pocket, reading it only when he was completely alone. Late one night, Nolan saw CCTV footage of Ridwan praying and reading the Quran beneath the emergency stairs. Shaking with rage, he summoned Ridwan to his office. "You're still doing this, even after my warning?" Ridwan replied calmly. "My faith does not depend on place or circumstance, Captain. Threats can't stop belief." Nolan couldn't restrain himself anymore. He slapped Ridwan hard across the face. "Shut up! Don't you dare preach to me! Get off my ship before I throw you into the sea!" That same night, Ridwan sat alone at the back deck. Tears streamed down his face. He took out the small Quran from his pocket. Memories of his mother came rushing back. He began reciting Surah Yasin, his voice trembling, yet every word clear. But that night, a shadow appeared behind him. Captain Frederick Nolan. He had caught Ridwan reading the Quran again. His eyes burned red with anger. "You!" Nolan roared. "How many times have I warned you?" Ridwan stood up, clutching the Quran to his chest. Nolan snatched the Quran from his hands. "You think this book will save you? Save this ship. Let's see how it protects you now." Ridwan pleaded tearfully. "Captain, please, don't throw it." But Nolan didn't listen. With all his hatred and arrogance, he hurled the Holy Quran into the raging darkness of the sea. "Look!" Nolan shouted triumphantly. "Your holy book. It can't fly. It will sink and rot, just like your faith." Ridwan froze. It felt as if his soul had sunk with the book into the deep sea. He fell to his knees, tears flooding his face. Looking up at the sky, he whispered, "Ya Allah, forgive him. He does not know what he is doing." Not even a minute had passed. Suddenly, a deafening clap of thunder shook the sky. The once calm wind turned wild, and from the west, dark clouds surged forward like a curtain of death. Captain Nolan flinched. The wind struck so hard that his hat flew straight into the sea. He hurried toward the control room. On the bridge, officers were shouting in panic. Radio communication was dead. The radar screen went black. The compass needle spun wildly. A devastating storm had struck, and this was no ordinary storm. Within minutes, the entire ship shook violently. Sleeping passengers woke up screaming. Shattering windows, cries and wails created a hellish chaos. The mighty Saffron Glory, pride of modern engineering, now tossed like a toy boat against the waves. In the control room, Captain Nolan clung to the steering wheel, trembling. "This is impossible," he shouted. "This ship can withstand any storm." But the reality was different. Their technology had collapsed before the wrath of the heavens, and on the back deck, amidst the raging storm, Ridwan was in prostration. Rain and wind battered his body, yet he neither ran nor complained. With tear-filled eyes, he prayed to the sky. "La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Ya Allah, forgive us, save us from your wrath." He cried out and recited, "Amman yujibul mudtarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu as-su." Who is there that answers the desperate when he calls upon him and removes his suffering? A few crew members noticed Ridwan praying peacefully amid the storm. They were astonished. One whispered to another, "Look, he's not afraid." Slowly, some passengers and crew gathered around him. They weren't Muslim, they didn't know how to pray, but they knelt beside him and raised their hands, joining their hearts with his supplication. Captain Nolan watched from afar, his body weakened. He saw that all his pride, all his technology had failed, but this simple cleaner remained calm. Nolan's chest tightened with grief. He realized how terribly wrong he had been. He staggered toward the people gathered on the wet deck. Ridwan was still in prostration. Captain Nolan stopped. His knees gave out, and right there on the drenched deck, in front of everyone, he knelt before Ridwan. Everyone stared in shock. The captain, who once considered himself a god, now knelt before a humble cleaner. Nolan sobbed, I can't control this ship anymore. All systems have failed. It's over. I insulted your lord. He lowered his head and cried loudly. I need forgiveness. Show me the way. Ridwan lifted his head from sujud and placed a hand on the captain's shoulder. Allah is most forgiving, Captain. Even Pharaoh, who claimed divinity, was given chances until his final moment. You still have time. Nolan trembled and said, Teach me how to ask for forgiveness. Ridwan closed his eyes. Amid the thunderous storm, he taught Captain Nolan the words that open all doors of mercy. Nolan repeated after him, the sacred declaration of faith. The moment repentance-filled tears fell from the captain's eyes, a miracle took place in the control room. The radar screen that was dead suddenly lit up. The compass needle that spun wildly steadied toward the north. From the engine room, a voice shouted through the intercom, Captain! The backup generator is online! The ship is back under control! Everyone fell silent. The storm had begun to ease. Ridwan smiled at the captain. Not technology, Captain. The ship returned because a heart finally bowed in sujud. That day at dawn, a new scene appeared on the deck of Saffron Glory. Ridwan called the Fajr Adhan. Captain Nolan, still wearing his torn uniform, stood beside him and performed the congregational prayer. Many passengers and crew joined them. The ship that once symbolized arrogance and godlessness was now filled with a new light of hope by Allah's mercy. Captain Nolan learned that true power does not lie in technology. True power lies in humility before the Creator and in sincere faith.